Welcome back. Today we're going to have a little chat about the next 40k project, my next 40k project specifically, which I think is going to end up being the biggest, most ambitious, probably most time intensive and work intensive army that I think I'm ever going to build. And that includes, all of the tanks up there and the Cosmic Horror Mega Gargants there. I've done a lot of kit bashing and converting work in my time, but this one is very, very different in that I'm going to utilise something that, up until this point, I've not really utilised that much. See, I have over there a very good 3D printer. I have in the garage, on the other side of that wall that you can't see, so I don't know why I'm gesturing like that, another quite good 3D printer. But I've never really used them for kit bashing. I've never really utilised that aspect of, my hobby to really enhance 40k stuff. Part of me has always kind of thought to myself, well, I've got to make sure that I can use this army wherever, including Games Workshop places. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think I care about that anymore. What I do care about, though, is following up on an idea and not letting it stagnate and go away. Because I've got the drive, I've got the kick right now to do something kind of, I say different in some ways, but kind of familiar in others. See, I went to Super All-Stars 2, run by Mikey at Hellstorm Wargaming, just for the day, just to check things out, and there I saw some knights. I saw some very, very nice knights, made by Steve from LPP_Insta on Instagram, Little Plastic People, and Steve has got some incredible work on his Instagram. You should 100% go and check it out. He also has a YouTube channel, which I'll link in the description down below. And I saw some of these knights in person, and I've already done knights. I've done Chaos Knights. I have made myself a big old Chaos Knight army that I was super happy and proud of, and seeing these made me want to do knights again. But not the same way that I did them before. I don't want to just rehash a project I've already done. I don't want to sit there and just make the same models that I've already made. Instead I want to do something a little bit different, but familiar. Just seeing these in person made me go, I need to do knights again. I have to do knights again, and I have to do it now. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that some of these knights don't look exactly like Games Workshop's knights. There are some significant differences. Like, for instance, the fact that the legs are quite a bit longer. And that's because Steve has sculpted some knights for the Questoris Knights that are a lot closer to the Cerastus Knight legs. It makes them taller, it makes them lankier, it also gives them a much more fun leg shape, which is one of the things that the Chaos Knights have got going for them. And this is where the 3D printing side of thing comes in, because a lot of the parts that Steve used on his knights are available to buy. And this is where my 3D printers are going to be getting a hell of a workout, because I'm going to be utilising quite a few of these parts to make my knights tall and gangly and lanky, and give them just a different stature to the base model. Now, just for clarity, this is not a sponsored video. Steve didn't ask me to make this, he's not paid me anything to make it. On the contrary, I have talked to him and asked him whether I could show off his store, show off his knights, because I'm going to be using these things myself. Because of that, he's very kindly created a discount code. So if you're in the market for wound counters, for various knight weapons, different hatches, different exhausts even, leg extensions, arm extensions, waist extensions, there's a lot going on here. I especially love the shields. You can use the code Kirioth25 for 25% off at littleplasticpeople.com/store. And I want to say thank you to Steve for making that discount code and for allowing me to talk about it. I love what he's done, and it's become a huge inspiration and given me the drive to do something. So the fact that he's now offering that with a discount to you lot, I mean, that's just a really nice thing to do. Now, making the knights all lanky and giving them some different weapons is only part of it, because there's a big design element that I want to incorporate into all of these, which is this. This is the Ark Pulse Destroyer. It's a tank and it's part of the Allstein range from Bestiara Miniatures, and this has got a key element to it. The people strapped to the back with those odd canisters over their heads and the wires plugged into that big old generator thing. I absolutely love the aesthetic of this. And whilst it does mean that, yes, kind of, you could say I am sort of doing Chaos Knights again, I'm actually not. Instead, it's going to be more of a Renegade Knight world. It's going to be more using the resources you have to defend your people, who are also part of the Imperium, unless, outright being chaosy. I mean, they might be kind of chaosy by doing it, but that's not what they're going for. I want it to be a little bit more interesting than that. And, you know, I've already done one group of fully chaos/knights. This one I want it to be a bit more subtle. So this is where things get a little bit complicated, because these models aren't just available. I mean, they're available, you can print this tank, but these guys, they are part of that back platform. They are kind of moulded into it when it comes to printing it. And so it's going to be kind of difficult to get hold of those by themselves. However, when it comes to the wasted aesthetic, when it comes to looking like all the flesh has just been kind of drained from them, they've got no life left in them, these exist. The Dead Walker zombies from Games Workshop. Now, yes, they do have bits of wood growing out of them, but frankly, that's incredibly easy to remedy. We'll just snip those off. These things look emaciated, they look tortured, they look extremely worse for wear. Some of them are already manacled. Some of them have got hands in such a position that you can easily wrap some chains around and make it look like they're tied. I think these are going to be absolutely perfect to replicate these. Once you get rid of the wood and with a bit of reposing of the legs, they can be dangling down off the back of knight carapaces, they could be strapped to shoulder pads, and let's face it, with enough green stuff and cable rolling, you can get as many cables as you like. God knows I did that enough with the previous knight army, having to roll I don't know how many cables for the head of the one that was holding the massive Gatling cannon. This actually shouldn't be too bad. The only thing that I'm not sure on yet is how I'm going to do the heads. But I think for that, I might be taking my first foray into printing my own models. Just making some of those kind of canisters myself and going that route. Because I feel like with this project, everything else is so much bigger in scale than I've really tried to do before that, I mean, this is the time, surely, to just give 3D sculpting a proper go and actually try and produce some of that stuff myself. I think jumping in at the deep end with trying to make legs for knights and so on, that's probably not my thing right now, but weird sci-fi helmets that suck the life out of stuff that looks like it's about to die, I reckon I can pull that off. Of course, I could be totally wrong, but we won't know until we try, will we? Now, the list itself probably isn't going to be all that effective, but it is going to be quite fun, and that's generally what I aim for when I make any sort of army in any game, because I want more of a close combat focus list. I want big stompy robots in the face of the enemy, cutting them apart or stamping on them, because that's just fun. To that end, I'm initially aiming for a Knight Lancer, a Knight Gallant, and a Knight Paladin, and one of these, although it won't be this model because I'm intending to fairly heavily kit bash one instead. Not that you're surprised by that in the slightest, because it's me and that's what I do for pretty much everything, isn't it? Oh, and 2 Warglaves, because I fancied a couple of Warglaves. All the Knights pretty much are going to be based off the Knight Paladin kit. That includes the Knight Lancer as well, because, funnily enough, on Steve's store, there is the Knightly Lance kit, and of course you've got shields of various types. Plus, between the replacement legs, the waist extension and the arms extension, I can easily get them the right height and have the weapons be appropriate. So there you go, that's what I'm planning to do. I've already made a start. That is half of a box of armigers. The other one, most of the parts are assembled, and I'm just trying to work out the best way to put the gun where its face should be without it looking daft, which is surprisingly difficult and maybe won't work, but we'll see. In terms of how close is this going to be to what Steve's done, probably not all that close. Probably not all that close. I mean, I'm really going to hammer home just how, in terms of how similar is this going to end up to Steve's army, probably not very similar. Despite using his parts, despite using the stuff that he sculpted extremely well, by the way, as you could clearly see, I want people dangling from chains whilst their brains are being sucked out of their heads, hanging off the back of carapaces of knights. I kind of want things crucified onto shoulder plates. I want lots of chains, actually. Plus, for me, it's not a metal vehicle if you don't have a bit of rust going on. They're going to end up probably extremely dark, extremely over the top, and very, very weathered, I'd imagine. I'm yet to kind of finalise colour schemes. That's something that I tend to do after I've built everything and I just start painting it and hope it works out for the best, because I can't see what I'm going to colour it in my head. But that's kind of the gist of it. Really awful, but really fun, which I think actually kind of sums up a lot of the stuff that I like to make for really any sort of tabletop game, including things like D&D. If it's not awful, it's not fun. So it's got to be both. I want to say thank you to Steve again for creating that discount code for you guys. It's littleplasticpeople.com/store. So go and check it out and see if there's anything on there that you would like to get hold of. Kirios25 gets you 25% off until the end of October. It's a super generous thing of him to do. And yeah, I'm just really hyped for this now. I'm actually going to go away and I need to edit this first, but then I'm going to finish making this armature. And if a horrible monstrosity shows up on the community page tomorrow, then you'll know that it went well. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.